So both of you guys, the voice cast for Mortal Kombat did a diverse array of awesome characters, very talented voice cast. So the new iterations, we're gonna see Cyrax, Sector, and Noob, respectively. Yeah, you also voice Sub-Zero.
That's right.
So this is pretty cool. I guess how was it for you coming back into the game and like kind of creating like a personality for these characters and kind of like separating them?
I mean, anytime I get to do anything Mortal Kombat is so nice. You know, like I was a big fighting game kid playing growing up. I'm still a big fighting game kid. You know, depending on who you ask. So being a part of any fighting game, I treasure really deeply. But being a part of Mortal Kombat, you know, the game that I used to play at the arcade cabinet when I was teeny tiny, it's been such a treat. You know, when I first got Sub-Zero, I was on top of the moon. I couldn't stop. You know, I couldn't stop like screaming about into the mirror, right? But now being able to step into Noob Saibot, like one of the coolest, like most classic characters there is. Yeah, this is a memory I'm gonna have for a very, very long time. Yeah.
Oh, same question. Yeah. So Sector was so interesting because there is a previous iteration of Sector, but this was completely different. So in a lot of ways, I got to establish this character, new voice, new backstory, new moveset. There are still some moves that will be familiar, but it was incredible. Like Keiji said, you know, I grew up playing Mortal Kombat, and so my agents called me on a conference call to tell me the news because they knew how much it would mean to me. So being Sector was daunting because on one hand you are sort of taking on the legacy of an older character, but then having to do something completely different, not referencing the prior acting. So I think I'm just really, really excited to be part of this.
I can tell.
Yeah.
Was there ever a point where you decided to take either of the characters and just be like, I'm making it completely new? It's like, I know who they are, but we're going to kind of like ignore everything else except for just like the over broad strokes of it all and just make it completely yours?
Well, I mean, for at least for Sub-Zero during MK1, right? You know, we've had this good guy Sub-Zero for the past however many years. So I really got to kind of like experiment for the first time in a very long time with Bihan, right? Who is far more of a, if I may say, a dick, right? Like he's not the nicest dude, right? So it's always very freeing and very fun to step into the shoes of someone who has chosen to take, you know, the moral gray line and play hopscotch with it, right? It's been an incredible template into a character like Noob Saibot, right? Noob Saibot, you know, if you want to refer to Bihan or Sub-Zero as morally gray, Noob Saibot, he's a bad guy, right? And it's incredible always to voice a character who has shed themselves of, you know, some of that moral human stuff that we all kind of hold on to, right? Incredibly freeing, very fun, you know, good time.
I pretty much got to throw all of the old stuff out in a lot of ways, just because this is, you know, MK1, as you know, has so many changes. They really wanted to shake it up. And, you know, with the new timelines, you know, retcons of things, different realms, it means that Sector's story is completely different than the old Sector's story. And so I was not really beholden to anything other than I knew there was going to be the armor. I knew that there was a relationship with Cyrax. I knew, and that's pretty much it. Yeah.
So you got to do the full
I got
brand
to
new.
do whatever I wanted.
Did they ever tell you no on anything that you were trying to bring to the table?
You know, I was being a little bit glib, but we, like Dominic and writing all the scripts, really had my back and just having a really compelling story throughout the storyline, and the quips and the efforts that really matched with the really cool moveset. But he did write me one that highlights, I personally have a baby ball python, and so I got to have like a little reference to that in one of the lines. But no, we we're all pretty lockstep in terms of what we wanted.
That's refreshing.
Though I will say, I threw out the idea that everyone in Lin Kuei should have outrageous French accents, a la Monty Python, right? It was shot down. It was shot down.
Outrageous French
Yeah,
accents.
outrageous French. It was shot down, unfortunately.
Extra
so
DLC down the line.
maybe, right? Maybe.
Hey, Ed?
So I gotta ask for the both of you, how weird is it to hear yourself die?
I mean, it's fine. No, I mean, I've been privileged enough to be a part of enough like fighting games and war games where I've been dying for like almost 20 years now. So it's like, like me hearing myself die is like, it's Tuesday,
Yeah, I actually haven't gotten to play or see or experience any of Sector yet. Seeing the trailer and seeing the cinematic today was the first time that I'd ever seen it. It was crazy. I did cry. But I think I don't know. Do you feel weird like listening to yourself at all?
Honestly, like the first few years of me doing this, it is weird,
it's
right?
weird.
Like, because you, as a human, right, you're not really used to hearing your voice
You're like,
coming out.
is that what I sound
right?
like?
Right? Your brain doesn't
Yeah.
like that, right? It's like, what? Why?
I think
right?
so. To answer your question, specifically, dying does not disturb me as much as just hearing my voice. So.
My wife hates it though. My wife,
Yeah.
she hates hearing me die. She does not like that. Yeah.
So I've talked to a couple other voice actors who've done for Mortal Kombat, and like during the time when they were recording in their own personal studios, all they got was a script list. Did you ever get anything like that where it's just you on your own going, how do I make goat gurgling noises or something like that? So like, there's no other direction. Obviously, not knowing what's going on the screen, as well as just like we need this noise, and your character says this. It's like, what's the weird things you have to do for that?
Well, I think even when you do a home record, you have the director there to sort of talk you through it and say, okay, so for this death, you get stabbed in the gut, they cut upwards, then your head goes off, and so like sort of just sort of really walk you through it. Kind of hold your hand as you get mutilated. So like generally we had pretty good direction in that regard, especially because this team, as you may imagine, is very used to directing actors on how to die.
Yeah.
Or how to make those efforts. So we had a lot of guidance in that regard.
Yeah, it gets to this fun, wacky place where it's like, I guess not wacky, but it's like hour 4 in the last session, right? The death stuff comes, everyone's already tired, so it becomes this like weird kind of like military, like, all right, throat stab, 2 takes, right? Perfect, let's move on.
Yeah.
Arm break, worse arm break. Can we get a safety on that arm break? All right, let's go to the legs.
That is something that you really appreciate, especially in like a union and a studio where they will protect you and protect your voice.
Yeah.
Speaking of arm breaks, do you have to actually go?
No, fortunately, we don't have to break our own arms. That is,
I mean, do you have to make the sound audibly of an arm break?
Oh yeah, of course. Like if your character's arm breaks, you have to,
we make the sounds that we would make
Yeah.
but the Foley team, the effects team, will add the sounds of bone breaking.
Are they making you do that?
Frequently,
just have, like,
it'll
a
be
celery.
something like celery. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, just wondering.
In terms of like training, I guess how was it for you like to differentiate like getting into games? Was there like any challenges? I guess like exactly like getting like quotes like that, like kind of getting your mind into that, like I'm trying to word it, but like they said, like getting your head chopped off or something, like differentiating like voice acting for television into gaming, like challenges.
For on camera
Yes,
versus
like on camera.
versus voiceover.
it's much harder to get decapitated on camera than it is.
Very much.
That requires
That's
a lot
what stunt doubles are
Yeah.
for. Shout out to stunt doubles.
But no, there's very interesting ways of doing pain reacts, right? You just know that where the pain is happening, right? If the pain is happening here, it's going to be different than if the pain is happening here. The trick is if you can make the audience really feel it here, then you're doing your job.
Right.
I know that's a weird way to put it, right? It's like there's ways you move and there's ways you like cringe up, and there's muscles that clench up that are different, and that produces different sounds, and that's how we differentiate. Yeah.
Do you like pinch yourself in like certain spots?
I mean, some people I'm sure have those kinds of methods, but yeah, everybody has their own sort of technique for doing it. I do martial arts. And I know what it's like to get kicked in the face by accident. So, you sort of my body remembers what it's like to make those sounds, even if I can't make my body move like that in that moment.
Very cool.
Thank you guys
Thank you guys so much.
Appreciate it.
I guess we get to jump right back into it. We're talking about those animalities. What took so long and what
took so long? Great question. So today we revealed Animalities. Could not be more excited to finally get out and show you guys what we've been working on in utmost secrecy. We tried so hard not to get this leaked, and so super cool today to show that off. The team back at NetherRealm has been working incredibly hard for months and months and months and months on this feature, and we have a lot more to show you. It was just a little snippet today. So.
Do you have a favorite animality that you have in there now?
Oh, I've got lots of favorites.
I think you can't talk about it, or
I can talk about what we showed today. Like, the rain one, I just feel like it just fits his character so well, right? Water powers. We had a pufferfish on our list of like animals we wanted to work in, and figuring out what is a pufferfish going to do to you to kill you, right? Yeah. Well, he's going to burrow into you and puff up and blow your top off. So.
How long does coming up with like the pufferfish burrowing into you? How long from like, hey, we have this animal we want to kill somebody to final product of the actual animation?
Yeah, from the idea once Ed approves it to when we have it in the engine with final visuals and sound. I would say 4 or 5 weeks on average. Yeah, per animality. And now obviously we got lots going in parallel, but it's a big effort and a ton of people working on all different aspects.
Hey, Natty with Multiverse Colors. So, Mortal Kombat expanded story focused on the menace Havoc to unleash chaos on the NetherRealm and the end of the original game's story. What are we going to see now? Because the Kaos Reigns is going to be responsible for reviving Sub-Zero as Noob. So that was a big reveal. I guess, what can you tell us about the expanded storyline?
Well, I don't want to say too much about the storyline. We can talk about Noob and his character, or we can talk about Havoc. Which one would you rather prefer?
I guess we can talk about Noob, because that's the reveal now.
Well, Noob is sort of the dark side of Sub-Zero, but there's a little difference. It's different from the past because we're using sort of a Havoc universe to bring him to life. So it's changed a little bit since then. So, Havoc, I tried to play Havoc like sort of an evil P.T. Barnum or Vince McMahon type character. He's a showman. He's big and broad and it's loud and boisterous. So that's sort of his personality.
What's the? Do you have any standout stories or something that really is like in the forefront of your mind from working on this expansion project that you're just super proud of, like you're a golden child?
You mean from this story itself? Yeah. Oh, there's plenty of stuff. Unfortunately, we can't reveal too much of the story. But if you look in the opening, we really enjoyed doing the opening, which is what we showed today. Yeah. And there was a nice bit of setup. Like we had Sector hiding in the trees, and you didn't really know. I think the hardcore fans knew what it was. I love tying the ending and beginning together again. So at the ending, she comes out and reveals herself, and we did that intentionally just for new players, not to be, what's going on? What's this? And to have some setup with it.
Gotcha. Right on.
How hard will it be for like brand new players getting in, like just getting in, getting the new DLC and all that stuff, to be able to pick up and go with all that stuff, given how everything's kind of been rewritten?
Well, we're hoping. I mean, we're hoping that they just catch on. I don't think there's much more setup we can do without busting the story, but
So I'm not sure if this is your department, but the game is already so big. It's like 100 gigs plus. And now with all this new content, I don't know if I got any more hard drive space for Mortal Kombat 1 on my system. Is there any way to kind of like, I don't know, kind of like reduce like how much space is being used with all this new content being added on?
You got to delete some stuff on there, man.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're the artists, but I know the tech team's working to address that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So we hear you.
Storage is cheap. I mean, just start deleting stuff. Man. Go bigger.
2 terabytes.
You need more. You need more. But do you have a like a kind of piggybacking off that question, a standout character design that you're just like the most in love with?
From the in-game cinema standpoint, I could not be more excited with, honestly, like the way Cyrex sectors and noobs like intro stuff and some of the fatalities are coming together. Obviously, I can't go into details with them. We'll show them soon, and I can't wait because they're gonna blow your guys' mind. But they're just a step up, and it's really cool too because like they're reinvented, right? So like the gloves are off, and we can really go into different directions with their stuff and their personalities and the way they look and behave and stuff. So
what's your workflow for something like that from start of idea to final project? Do you work? Do you film yourself dancing around, or?
Yeah, so our animators do a lot of like throw up cameras, and they'll do some performances, and it really does kind of help us like zero in on like, I like the way this is working, this could work, let's throw this away, or let's tweak that. So that really kind of helps with like a little bit of like the previs kind of stuff. For in-game, we don't do a ton of previs just because it's kind of like we're moving a million miles an hour, kind of going right into mocap, but we do a lot of cool like guys jumping on cameras and goofing around and finding what works sometimes. So.
Will that footage ever be a bonus feature?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, if the fans are like, we want to see it, maybe. Yeah.
For story, I think it's Sub-Zero. Yeah, there's an old boxing adage: if you get 2 fighters together, the smarter one wins. So we really try to have a sense of intelligence for Sub and make him even more dangerous. Havoc was a lot of fun too. I mean, he's just something we haven't done before, something that fans haven't experienced.
Yeah, having an MK character being able to dismember themselves, usually it's just one direction, but that's always fun.
Can I ask how the animalities are going to be performed? The brutalities you have to be like in a certain stance, like whatever, like the fatalities you have to input commands. Like what is the button command going to be for?
Can I say how we're gonna able to perform Animalities? I know the answer, but I don't know if we're trying to keep that a secret.
How do you mean,
like the sequence of buttons that you have?
Right. You know how like fatalities you just push like up, down, AB, right?
I don't.
Just,
Yeah.
all right.
Okay.
Soon.
Yeah. It must be big then.
So is it going to be?
You're not gonna be disappointed.
Oh yeah.
So will be all the characters like DLC, everything will have an animality, or is it going to just be like the core MK characters? Or can you not say? Is it going to be all of the characters like DLC, all that stuff have the animalities, or just the core Mortal Kombat characters?
Yeah, every single character will have their very own unique animal and animality sequence, including guest characters. So, and those were really wild to work on too.
Yeah, awesome. that makes me curious on the T1000. Like, what animalities?
Yep. It's gonna be great. I'm really excited.
A creative standpoint, to touch upon that, how do you kind of decide like what animal like characteristics like to bring to a character in like an art sense?
Yeah. So like. Yeah, some animals just feel like they're just an immediate fit for some characters. So when we kind of like associate one animal with a character and we lock that in, our art team really tries to bring some of the color palettes from the main character into that animal, maybe some of the costume designs into the animal. So when they transform, it's not disassociated, right? Like the animal does have a little bit of like what the main character was. And then sometimes what they do feels like something that just feels natural, part of their moveset.
So is this a trend that you picked up on or something you invented?
What's that?
The animality.
So Animalities we had back in MK3 and then MK Trilogy. So that was, I think we were doing the math like 29 years ago. And it was time to bring it back. I think we brought back everything now. We've got Babalities in MK9, Brutalities in MKX, Friendships in MK11, and then now Animality. So they're back and cooler than ever.
Is there going to be a new category that y'all are kicking around?
Sure, why not? Yeah.
Is there ever a limitation where, again, it's like with the fatalities, where maybe we've got a little too over the top with this, we've got to like dial it back, or is it just go with everybody, the entire team goes, okay, that's good?
Yeah, we present a lot of ideas to Ed, and sometimes the ideas go too far, and he does a great job of like, guys, let's pull it back a little bit. And we're like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we don't get to we can't kill characters in story too late. I'm not going to cut Johnny Cage's head off. We'll usually find monks or fighters or ninjas to do that too. So we don't get that too often, but there have been times where we've been influenced by a movie. Like there was one time I said, hey, let's do this. And we were throwing bottles in people's face and smashing them, and then they're like, no, we can't do that. Or like we'd have a character, like one of our good guy characters, bite somebody. And I was like, no, he wouldn't do that. Kano can do that, but somebody else, like Raiden can't. So,
that would be weird.
Yeah, so and that's what we run into a lot. We love to brutalize them as much as we can, but it still has to fit into the story.
Do you ever have to keep like the censorship board or the ratings board in the back of your head when you're working on stuff, or is that for legal to worry about?
Within reason, like story, like for Josh can be as brutal as he wants, but since ours plays more like a movie, we'll get a different reaction from an audience, almost like there's seeing like almost a regular death. And so we have to be really careful how much, if we're playing it like a movie, how far we can go with it. And plus, there's a certain sense of humor in games. So if we would do that, we'd try to make it a little lighter and funnier at times.
Yeah, the art's getting more and more real, but we have fun with these. They're silly, over the top moments, and we love making them.
It's gotten interesting with the new tech out. We can do a lot more stuff.
Look across the pond, like to China and to Japan for your inspiration.
For what? I'm sorry.
You look like to China or Japan for inspiration.
I look in.
There's a lot of fighting.
I look into inspirations a lot from horror movies and from action movies. A lot of martial arts movies, absolutely. And we have our core inspirations, and I think originally the inspiration for MK was Big Trouble in Little China, and Enter the Dragon, But as times moved, movies like The Raid and Raid 2, and have come out and been, they're pretty brutal, but they've been, a lot of the Indonesian movies I've used for examples of kung fu. But absolutely, without copying them, we want to try to be unique. But we're not going to do exactly what they do, because every time we bring we'll bring a different martial artist in, and they have a different style. So yeah, it really depends on who. We'll pick certain artists to come in and do the fighting for us based on what we're doing in the characters.
Oh, awesome, cool.
All right.
Thank you.
So many secrets. I guess I had a question about obviously the Animalities of being added to the game. I was just talking to them about, how big the game is itself. What's the game plan for this? I know, with most games now, it's always like a 3 to 4 year run. How many seasons are we expecting to get out of Mortal Kombat 1 to 4?
I think that would be dictated by the reception that the game gets. The Mortal Kombat 1, the first year we had really well. That inspired us to do a year 2, so to speak, with Kaos Reigns. And, if that does similarly, I can't see us just dropping it and not doing anything else. So I think that's really going to be dictated by the players.
Do you think that, I know, with Mortal Kombat being a fighting game, we can get that back into the Evo scene? I've seen so many fighting games, Street Fighter and Evo just past weekend. We can get that back into a tournament fighting game.
Yeah, I do. That's there's always this kind of balance that we're looking for in terms of trying to make the game as accessible to the casual audience, which is this big, and then the kind of the pro scene, which is this big, but very vocal, very important, very big part of our of our strategy is to, just encompass both of those groups.
Hey, so Kaos Reigns is going to continue Mortal Kombat 1 story. It's going to expand the roster, I believe, in September, the new expansion. It's going to include Cyrax, Sector, new Terminator, Terminator 2 Judgment Day, Ghostface from Scream, and Conan the Barbarian. These are some crazy fun characters.
Yeah.
I guess, how was it for you in terms of like getting licensed for these characters and like deciding what kind of characters you want to include?
It's very unscientific. Some people would guess that we're doing market research and doing all this stuff like that. It's if you imagine you're with your friends and you said, let's come up with 3 really cool characters to come up with, it would be the same conversation. It's not rocket science. It is a bunch of probably still somewhat juvenile game developers, thinking what would be cool. It's as simple as that.
It's like Winnie the Pooh honey.
Exactly.
So in a similar vein, because I know Ghostface was a rumored character for like a long time. Like when I first got, did that influence it at all, or was like that just like you guys sitting around like, yeah, Ghostface would be kind of cool. I just added in.
We said Ghostface would be kind of cool years ago, and you have to get permission from the owner of the IP. So sometimes they're doing something with someone else, or the character's appearing in another game or something like that, and then it prevents it. So we just kind of keep going back to them, and then at some point they said yes, and we jumped all over it.
Nice.
Do you have a white whale character that you've been trying to hunt down for ages, especially for like this expansion?
Many of them, actually, yeah. So there's if you almost think of it, we have like 10 pots on the stove that are in various stages of simmering to cold to boiling hot, and we're just it's a lot of things have to do to kind of align the planets to make them happen.
And has anybody ever approached you with their properties?
Yes,
Hey,
yes,
okay.
yeah, they have. Yeah, a number of them have. Yeah.
Probably can't talk about.
Yeah, I wish I could, but I think they'll assume that we're doing it, and then I got to answer to PR.
Got it. Fair enough.
I gotta ask, when Mortal Kombat 1 was released for the Switch, we had a bit of a hiccup there.
Yeah.
Are we ready with the DLC for a Switch version of every other platform?
Yeah. We definitely want to make that right. For sure.
Do you have, come off the question of the Switch, do you have different teams that are specialized in the different platforms?
Yeah. We tend to focus on the PlayStation and Xbox versions, and then we get help from like the PC and the Switch and the extended versions. And there were certainly things that we're going to be doing differently going forward to get those in sync with the SKUs that we work on.
Gotcha.
So.
And from like a start to finish development standpoint, when does say with this expansion, at one point did those individual teams start to do their own parts to get it ready for their specific platforms? Like, where in the pipeline?
They try to keep up with us as much as we can, but especially at the end of the project, the game is changing constantly, and it's kind of hard to kind of keep up. So we got to do something with timing to make sure that there's an ample amount of time for them to catch up with us.
So we have the inclusion of Animalities now. Is it? I know we asked the other developer about, or the other guy that was here about it. What took so long to actually get that back in? And was there a limitation to get there, I guess?
No, there definitely wasn't a limitation. We here and there we had characters turn into animals. I think in like Mortal Kombat 4 or something, we turned Scorpion into a scorpion. But to bring the whole feature back, I think it's been 29 years or something ridiculous that we haven't put it in. So it was just the last couple of games we brought back friendships and then Babalities and whatnot. So we were like, okay, let's do them all. And then Animalities was kind of like one of the last ones remaining.
I noticed that Mortal Kombat has a lot of accessibility controls. Like, what are you adding now for players that might not be able to keep up or input those certain combinations? I know you have like one button, certain like fatalities and stuff like that, but adding more stuff that goes on.
We literally work with some kind of professional players who are disabled, and they give us a ton of ideas. What if you did this? What if you did, using audio cues to identify where the other player is, or changing the color palette to be a little bit more easier to see from somebody whose vision's impaired and stuff like that. So it's really, the inspiration comes from them. They say, you should do something like this, and we usually just run with it.
And how did you get into a relationship like this? That sounds pretty interesting.
I think they approached us. I think at either a game developers conference or maybe we got a representative call us or something, and they said, we'd love it if you do that. There was one player I remember who got really good at it. He was blind, completely blind, and I was asking him, how do you, and he goes, well, I hear the footsteps sounds, their place, and then I know when they're closer, and then I hear the character go, "Huh!" So I know they're jumping, and so I know where they are. So I think they have like an image in their head, and the audio is just kind of making cues to now this happened, and then they just piece it together and play the game. That's when they said that, we said, okay, there's something here that we can really make really good use of. So.
How do you get people interested to play the story? Like people like me who only play every once in a while with like friends. How do you get someone interested to actually play the story like that?
We get a lot of data that says what people do when they first start playing the game. A gigantic percentage of our players, the first thing they do is go right to the story. They just play. So there's very little we need to do to.
So I'm the problem.
That's right. Some players, they just get right online and they just want to play competitively. The reasons the story mode exists, is not only to tell a story, but to also give players who are intimidated to go online, and because they just get beat up 2 or 3 times and they're like, forget that, But in the story, it's at a slower pace. The opponents aren't crazy killer, Sonic Fox level of skill, and you can have it's way more accessible. It's many more people can play that game and have fun without getting online and just getting beat up. So.
Now, with this expansion coming out, what's the thing that you're most proud of that you got a chance to work on?
Oh, that's a tough one. There's a couple. I think Animalities is a big one. Just getting that feature back that some people, some players weren't even born when that came out. Some of our guys weren't even born, and. The story is also great. It's also great to continue the story as you go along. And there's secrets in the game that we haven't even announced that we're gonna like to see how long it takes people to find out. It's gonna be a big one. So.
Time, guys. So.
Right on.
Thank you.
Thank you.